Kristen.
We have Kristen, our Deputy Treasurer, regarding the draft audited financial statements.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I would like to introduce you to Christy Kwan. She is here today as a representative of BDO. She is our auditor. She works with Phil Cox, and she was the manager on our audit this year, and she will be here to discuss with you later any issues that you had or any questions that you might like to see answered. And if you could find in your agenda package, please, your hot off the press 2011 Bowen Municipality year-end audited financial statements. I'm conscious of time, but I do believe that I've been allotted significantly more time than I need to go through this. So I don't think that we'll have any problems with our timelines today. If you wouldn't mind, please turn to page 3. And you should be looking at the Bowen Municipality Consolidated Statement of Financial Position.
That's page 13 of your agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
13.
That's it.
So are you just going to highlight things for us?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I get to do this once a year.
So if you would take 10 minutes, then we can give 30 minutes to Councilor Morris.
Fair enough.
Take him 30 minutes to go over the statement,
So the Consolidated Statement of Financial Position, this is a statement that gives you a financial snapshot of where the municipality was relative to cash in the bank and how much money it owed and what its financial position was at December 31st. So you can see the changes from year-end 2010 to year-end 2011. We had about $500,000 cash in the bank. We had about $1.6 million owed to us. Some of those amounts were $320,000 owing from water and sewer districts, $860,000 owing to us in grant revenue from the Building Canada Fund and the Towns for Tomorrow grant, about $355,000 in taxes, uncollected taxes owing. And the other significant cash item there is the balance of our portfolio investments. We had about $5.3 million invested, mostly with the MFA. However, this year we did make a switch, and we decided to help support our community First Credit Union, and we moved approximately $500,000 worth of funds to a term deposit with the First Credit Union. Liabilities owing at December 31st, 2011 included about $662,000 in accounts payable. We had about $680,000 in monies that we were hanging on to that we couldn't take into and recognize as revenue during the period. As we carry out certain obligations down the road, we will start to take those monies into revenue. We still owed $2 million on our interim financing for the surplus lands purchase. And we owed about $246,000 in long-term debt. That debt is held in the water systems. $21,000 was owed by Eagle Cliff District, which is actually going to be paid out in May. And the remaining $225,000 is still owed by Cove Bay for the extension of Cove Bay Water District up to Valhalla. And that will be extinguished in 2019, that debt. So total financial assets less total financial liabilities leaves a net financial assets figure of $3.9 million. And what that number means is it's a picture of our liquidity. So if we were to all of a sudden discharge all of our liabilities and write a check to pay off everything we owe, we would still have approximately $3.9 million of liquid cash. And you want to see that number positive. That's a healthy place to be. And there's a lot of municipalities out there that have significant debt and they actually owe more than they have in the bank, and that number for a number of municipalities out there is negative. So it's a good thing to see that for us that's positive. Non-financial assets, these are known as our tangible capital assets. And I'd like it if you wouldn't mind jumping to It's Schedule 3, and it's page 14 in my financial statements. And it should be a landscape schedule, and it is our capital asset schedule.
Page 24.
Thank you. I like to call this the $50,000 statement, because back in 2009, when municipalities were required to do a significant change to the method in which we produce our financial statements, we had to go around and physically count and touch and look and evaluate the quality of the stuff that we had out there. So we had to hire engineers to go out and assess water infrastructure, assess docks, assess road conditions, and attach a dollar value to that. So in 2009, that cost us about $35,000 to pay engineers to do that, plus staff time and additional audit time to come up with this schedule. Cost the municipality about $50,000 to conform to these new reporting standards. So year after year to update it, it's about 3 or 4 weeks work. It's not very much, but the initial cost of this was really significant. And what this statement does is it summarizes all our stuff. So if you take cost beginning of the year, this is the opening value of all of the stuff that we own. This is stuff that you can touch, it's stuff that you can see. It's roads, it's water systems, it's vehicles, it's furniture, it's capital assets. And in 2011, Bowen Island consolidated, that's Bowen Island and all of its water districts and the sewer district together, we acquired $1.8 million of new stuff. And some of it is, we acquired $975,000 in new sewer treatment plant capital infrastructure investment. We acquired $325,000 in new roads capital, not maintenance, roads capital infrastructure upgrades. We bought a new plow truck for $141,000. We had a lovely new staircase put in on Kate's Hill. We had that donated to us, and it was given a value of approximately $25,000. We put in a fire hall exhaust system at the fire hall, $28,000. We built a new attachment to the communications tower to improve fire emergency communication. That was a cost of $44,000. We bought some small equipment. In the water systems, they bought approximately $130,000 worth of pumps and filters and pipes and stuff. The library spent about $37,000 on new books, and they spent, not only new books, they spent about $20,000 on books and about $17,000 on some upgrades to their building inside there. Cove Bay spent about $58,000 on Grafton Lake Dam, and this is a very significant and important issue that later today in my utilities presentation I'm going to talk further about. I think that's pretty good for some of the description of some of the stuff that we bought this year. So if we could maybe go back to the consolidated statement of financial position where we left off. Tangible capital assets, that is the original cost less the accumulated amortization, leaves a net book value of our stuff of $48,574,976. At the end of the year, we had about $21,000 in little inventory, salt, sand, prepaid expenses like insurance, things like that, for total assets of $48,596,549. Our accumulated surplus is the subtotal of net financial assets plus non-financial assets, comes to $52,519,188. Accumulated surplus sounds good, but it is not a big pot of money that is available for you to spend. It is simply the excess of revenue over expenses since we began as a municipality. Most of it, as you can see, is sitting in tangible capital assets, as stuff in the ground or stuff in our office or stuff in a water system. And really, that only part that would be liquid, that would be spendable, is that $3,922,000 of net financial assets. We can move on to the consolidated statement of operations. And taxation revenue this year was $3,475,000, very close to our budget figure. We always levy what we budget to levy, but over the year, what happens is some people who may have challenged their assessment notice when they got it, their appeals will have worked their way through the system, and we'll get a supplementary notice from the assessment authority saying, yes, this person's property is worth less, so we'll actually have to reduce our tax revenue and issue that person a refund, or on the other side, maybe it comes back and that person's property is worth more and we'll send them a new tax bill and collect that extra revenue in that year. So it's never quite the same as what you budgeted as a result of the supplementary rolls, but it's always pretty darn close. Parcel taxes, they are collected from the parks parcel tax, is $100 per property in a year. There's a parcel tax in three of the water systems have a parcel tax. There is a garbage parcel tax that is charged to every property. And they were a little bit under, I think that we made a little bit of a mistake in the budget in the number of parcels due to a subdivision last year. Do you remember what that was? Yeah. It's in the parks parcel tax that we budgeted to only collect what we did was collect more than we budgeted, so it worked out in our favor, but yeah, it was just something to do with the number of parcels that parcel tax would be applicable to. Grants in lieu of taxes are the amounts that we receive from the federal government for the federally owned properties. So that's the taxes that we get for the police station and the private homes that are owned by the RCMP.
When does that come in?
It comes in the year, like, we'll get it probably in June. We could apply for it anytime after June. Utility connection fees and user rates. That's pretty self-explanatory what those are. Let's see, actually I want to move forward. The utility rates, we have an increase over budget amount for that line item, and that was as a result of two things that I would like to point out to you. One is there was a debenture debt owing in the sewer district, which was extinguished this year. And what they do when they have long-term debenture debts is they take your payments as you make them every year, and they kind of put them aside in a sinking fund, and they invest those sinking fund proceeds, and hopefully you do better than anticipated. Sometimes you do worse and you end up owing extra money at the end, but with the sewer district debt, they did much better than planned, and we actually got out of the debt for $16,000 less than we had thought we would. So that is treated as a revenue in the sewer for $16,000 that we weren't anticipating. So that was nice to see. And then the other change is we really noticed a decrease in our dock revenue this year. We were about $14,000 under budget for Snug Cove dock moorage and night moorage and that kind of stuff. So we maybe need to look at our fees, what we're collecting. It's also hard to collect that money because of the transient nature of so many of those people. So those are the two things that are the difference between the budget for the fiscal plan and what was actually collected. Moving on to government grants. Very close in the federal government grant. I think we got an extra little bit in the Human Resources Development grant that we get to I think that's what that was a result of. Government grants, provincial note 14. This is kind of an anomaly, it's a funny one. We get a lump sum payment from the province every year as kind of a general support grant, and it's comes usually with no strings attached, and it can be used for operations, and it can be used to keep your tax rates low. And